You are here with Mel and Rea on Toasted, where we mix drinks and feelings. Today's episode is about ADHD. But first, Ree has a special drink for us.
I was going to make a really, really difficult drink, and I looked up the most difficult drink to make.
And it's with ADHD.
Right. And I don't remember what it was called, but it said it had
Also goes with ADHD.
71 ingredients.
Holy shit. That would have been the whole episode.
It would have been the whole, I was thinking we could do like a fast forward little bit part with it.
Yeah.
But then the ingredients were weird. It was like one main alcohol, and then it was just a lot of like a dash of this, a dash of this, a dash of this. It was not worth it. So instead, I've recently experienced the best dirty martini I have ever had in my entire life. And I decided, what do you think about a dirty martini? And Mel said, yeah. So that's what we're having. I've never made one before except for like half hour ago maybe, just to see what this looks like. So we're just going to wing it. I have to make two. So it's important to put enough.
And I feel like I'm going to want 2 martinis.
You probably are. So then the olive juice. I'm going to use the olives on the toothpick to keep the olives in. So I think me. And then great noise. Good sound. Okay. And then it said, this one we stir.
Stirred, not shaken.
Yeah, which felt odd, but I'm no 007, so I'm comfortable with it. But we do strain into the glass. Okay. Hopefully this is going to be as tasty as the one I made not long ago. Oh, I did not do.
That's good, because I'm going to have 2.
That's very good. And then, sploosh.
So fancy.
Sploosh.
Okay.
All right.
Delicious.
Oh, I think that's even better than the one that I made before.
That's smooth. That's so smooth. Dang, good dirty martini. I thought I only like sweet martinis, but this is good.
Turns out.
Okay. So we are doing ADHD today because those are our most popular TikToks and Instagram videos. Is it ADHD or just me? First, I need to acknowledge I have a little bit of a cold. So my voice is a little bit deeper and raspier than usual. And I'm on a little bit of cold medicine.
Some people might like that. And a dirty martini.
I think it's going to help
be fun. It's going to be incredible.
So I just recently read this Times News article about ADHD. It was titled, "Have We Been Thinking About ADHD All Wrong?" And I read the whole thing because I was diagnosed with ADHD in 4th grade at age 10 by my family physician. My daughter has ADHD and is medicated for it. And like the picture that went along with the article was like just a person made up of medicine. And so I read the whole thing and I'm like, oh my gosh, really? This is so against everything else I've read. Like, what am I missing? And so then just a flood of comments and other news articles with opposing views on that article came out from people who are actual scientists who have been researching this for over 30 years and actually know what they're talking about and have just said this happens all the time. Somebody will come out, usually like some journalist will be interviewing people and say, I have a different take on ADHD, but it's just a recycle of the same old trope about ADHD is overdiagnosed. Stimulants don't work. Some say it doesn't exist at all.
I think that over the years, ADHD has covered a blanket of diagnosis in children. probably majority are very spot on, but I think that some I don't want to say an easy diagnosis, but it's a very blanket diagnosis, but it's been very villainized by a lot of people.
Yes.
Oh, you're ADHD. No, you're just your kid's misbehaving. Your kid's this. It's not so much where we're actually looking at what is taking place. It's just villainized.
And this article went into actually say a lot of those symptoms of ADHD have to do with the environment that you grew up in, which goes back to the parents. And that is not the case. Like, you can have the exact same parent with different children, one presenting ADHD symptoms and the other not, in the exact same environment, and it's just not valid.
Yeah, I agree.
The main contention for this particular article was that there's no genetic markers for ADHD. So it's not like you can take a test and be like, oh, right here, you have ADHD. So it's something that it's diagnosed by the symptoms and it's treated by the symptoms. But that's most psychiatric disorders.
Absolutely.
Bipolar, anxiety, depression, those all go by the symptoms.
And you treat the symptoms.
And you do your symptoms.
You try with this. If this doesn't work, you try something different. And it could be a medication. It could be therapy. It could be, there's all sorts of things out there to treat a multitude of those.
Mm-hmm.
But oftentimes ADHD.
And it's true that people with ADHD who are taking stimulants do sometimes have to try different medications or up their dosage because their body gets used to it. But again, the same can be said for anxiety and depression.
Mm-hmm.
Like our bodies are incredible and they do adapt and try to go to that reset of factory norms, which is not always conducive to daily life. Which that's the main premise of ADHD. Does it interfere with your daily life?
Mm-hmm.
Because certainly we've all been fidgety at times or all forgotten things. But is this something that happens every day throughout your day? Very likely you have ADHD.
Possibly.
Yeah.
I think, going back to what you were saying as far as, people who are taking a medication, oftentimes, your body gets used to it. You need to up the medication. You need to change the medication. It's no longer working. I've noticed big time with perimenopause.
Mm-hmm.
My anxiety symptoms are worse. My depression symptoms are worse. And it turns out, I think I've probably been doing a really good job masking for many, many, many years ADHD. And I think that I did it pretty well. I think I for the most part, I used to be so good at remembering appointments. What day it was. Just all of the things. And now, as I'm experiencing this weird, crazy, funky hormone change, before when women are pregnant, we're like, oh, they've got pregnancy brain.
Right.
Actually, it's probably everything just all in turmoil because of all of their hormones taking place and going crazy because they're growing a human. So I've noticed that for myself now suddenly where I'm like, what the hell is wrong with me? Why do I suck at everything now? This didn't used to be me. I used to be able to do this. I think I learned my body wasn't where it is now with my hormones, and I was much better at being able to, I wasn't as tired. I think that so much of our life, those changes happen and medication, but I think the symptoms change. The symptoms change as we go through life and our hormones change in age. Yes.
That makes sense. So let's talk about what ADHD is. ADHD is typically hereditary. And it comes from, it's a chemical imbalance in your brain where there's an imbalance of those chemical messengers, specifically neuroepinephrine. Neuroepinephrine is very closely linked to dopamine, which explains so many other things that have escalated with, I'm going to go ahead and go out on a limb and speak for Rea here, both of us, with shopping, trying to get those dope hits. because we have this norepinephrine imbalance. So it used to be ADHD and ADD, and now it's just all called ADHD, but there's 3 different types. There's the hyperactive impulsive, the primarily inattentive, and then there's a combination of the 2. And so there's 9 when you're getting a diagnosis. It is like 2 different environments, like home and school or home and office, that you exhibit these 9 characteristics. So for hyperactive, it's like people on the go, seem to go on a motor sort of thing. Talking excessively, people who are like noisy, like they just, they can't do anything quietly. Processing is just like, it's loud. They fidget, tap their fingers, tap their legs,
make their chair squeak,
like all of those things. That's the hyperactive impulsive. And then the primary inattentive is exhibited with like careless mistakes due to overlooking details. You get sidetracked instead of finishing a task.
That's weird.
That is weird. I feel like we've talked about that before. Difficulty with organization, awesome. Task avoidance, and easily distracted by external stimuli. Stigma with ADHD, I feel like we've heard it, we've felt it, we've tried to mask to avoid being called this. Lazy, forgetful, careless, messy, selfish, dumb, or ditzy. Mm-hmm. 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 So, as far as like men versus women, you're going to love this.
Oh, I can't wait.
Men are diagnosed, their diagnosis rate is 69% higher.
What a perfect number.
Than that of women.
I mean, if you're going to do percentages, can you really get a better percentage?
69% higher.
69%.
And that's because primarily their type, they're also diagnosed earlier.
Yes.
In schools.
Little boys, and they're
but running up the walls.
Yeah, absolutely.
Mm-hmm. Like that difficulty in a school setting where you need to be still and not be distracting others who are possibly inattentive.
And how often do we see where, typically little girls, you're pleasing, you don't do that, you don't make noise, you sit there and you mind yourself.
Mm-hmm.
And boys are, they're just wild and rambunctious.
Boys will be boys.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and that's really unfair.
Mm-hmm. So that goes into like the societal expectations. Women are expected to like manage themselves, manage their house, manage their children, manage their schedules, all of these things, where if you have ADHD, you are not wired to do that. Like that's high executive functioning, which is one of the 4 parts of the brain that is directly impacted with ADHD. So here comes the masking.
Yeah. Well, and it's interesting you say that. If my tasks and responsibilities, not the little ones, but the overall, the number of hats I have to wear, if I don't have to wear a lot of those big hats, I do better.
Mm-hmm.
But when I have the big hat of my job, and then I have the big hat of me outside my job, and all that entails, I suck.
Mm-hmm.
But if I only had the hat of my job, or I only had the hat of me not at my job, I do okay. I mean, I fall in the 69%. But I do okay. But the more mental layers, and it's like I just got back from vacation and I was telling someone, I asked, how are you doing being back? And I said, it's so noisy in my brain. My head felt noisy. There was so much to process, and it just goes on this loop, and things keep getting chucked into that loop, so it kind of wobbles. Mm-hmm. But it keeps more, and then I'm supposed to keep track of it, which is weird.
So weird.
Yeah. So yeah.
Well, and another thing with women is the role that estrogen plays. So estrogen plays such a major role in our brain, to the point that I can't believe that hormone replacement therapy is not been researched more and is not something that more people are able to look into, because estrogen is part of it. It enhances those neurotransmitter connection. So hormone fluctuations are huge for symptoms of ADHD, which, like perimenopause, like it's just like the brain fog, the forgetfulness, all of these things where I'm like, wait a minute, I used to be able to do this, 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 and this, and I was pretty good at it. And now I'm just like, oh my gosh.
Yeah. It's a very, very interesting process. And especially, like, I'm not on hormone replacement therapy yet. We'll see what happens. Because of having migraines with auras, there's a whole issue with estrogen and cause of stroke. But I think they're finding that maybe it will be an option as long as it's, anyway, doesn't matter. That's what we're talking about. But it's interesting because previously I was always like, no, I'm really not, I can't manage everything. I can't this, I can't that. And then somebody I know who was diagnosed with ADHD looked at me one day and said, maybe you have ADHD. And I was like, yeah, I might. So then I talked to my doctor about it. And my doctor, that I think maybe I met for the first time that time, was very nice, but said, we need to give you a referral to go see somebody about that because I can't diagnose that. So the referral, because of where we live and just how that process works, it's coming up in September. I've had this appointment referral for over a year. So I need to get my referral redone. I'll try and remember to do that before my appointment, so that way my insurance will pay for this. But in that process, you talk, your phone picks up things and then throws those suggestions out on you and any type of social media. And so, of course, now I'm getting these ADHD things.
And you're like, check, 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 check.
Right? And before I was like, no, I just need to get my shit together. It's just me. I just need to get my shit together. But then when I finally settled into it and Mel said, honey, and then my doctor was like,
And can I also say, so I was diagnosed when I was 10 by my doctor, who, of course, had my teachers fill out forms and my mom fill out forms. Mm-hmm. But I was not medicated for it. There was like, no, we do not do medication for that. Like, things have changed a lot from the 80s and 90s, from when I was diagnosed. And so there was like this huge stigma about this. My daughter, I suspected had ADHD, but she did not go on medication until her sophomore year. During COVID, we had to have 97-minute classes. And after 97 minutes of class, she was like, I have no idea what just happened in that class. I have no idea. I can't believe the bell rang. It was so fast. And she had exhibited symptoms throughout. So she also was diagnosed by her family physician with the referral forms for teachers and we as parents. But Ree, I had suspected had ADHD for the 20 years that we've been friends. but
I've masked really well for a really long time. I mean, mostly.
But there's the stigma, so I'm not going to say, hey, guess what? So we were just out hiking and we had a White Claw and she was sharing an experience and I was just like, so have you ever thought that maybe? Yeah. And yeah, she's fully embraced it.
Okay.
And
What am I gonna do?
I just feel like it's like this weight off.
Yes.
Like how open with social media people are about me too, me too, me too. Like this, okay, I am not a fucking disaster. I mean, I am, but I'm not a disaster by myself.
Yeah.
And that's a big deal.
There's a reason for the disaster. And it's not an excuse, it's not a crutch, but there's a reason, and there are tools or medication to help you with that disaster. And you make your disaster a little less disastery.
Yeah. And I don't feel like I need to like uphold myself to this unrealistic expectation that I am not capable of managing. Like my mom did not have ADHD and everything was just and everything. Like she got up at 5 o'clock in the morning every morning and like cleaned the whole kitchen with bleach and everything had its place. And my dad and I are like, and I always felt so bad and so. And that's another thing with women, like why we mask so much. It's so much attached to our self-worth.
Yes.
And our self-esteem.
Mm-hmm.
Like I can't do this. Why doesn't my house look like this? Why can't I manage this? And the thing is, it's a lot of work to mask.
Mm-hmm.
And so my house is not going to look just like that. And it's okay.
There were so many times as I found masking became more and more difficult, but didn't really understand what I was doing and what was taking place, that I would literally be in tears. I just felt like the biggest failure that I couldn't. I'm like, why can't I do this? Yeah. And it really does take a toll on what you think about yourself and how you value what you bring to your home, to your work, to, whatever it is, whatever situation, to my family, to my kids, to my husband, to, to my friends. It's hard. It just really, yeah, it sucks.
Mm-hmm.
So as I scroll through social media, I oftentimes go, oh, I didn't know that was type ADHD. I'm a very, very, very emotional person. I've been my entire life.
Mm-hmm.
Weird. Highly sensitive, highly just absorb everything and think it's my fault and think that, worry that I've said something that hurt somebody and then I stew on it and I make myself sometimes physically sick about it.
So that rejection,
yes,
dysphoria.
Yes, I read this thing. I'm going to look it up really quick because I happened to see it today and I was like, oh my gosh. Yes.
I would say all of those slides are just like so spot on. And I just love this aspect of social media that make me feel seen.
Yes, I'm like, oh, okay, so maybe I'm not weirdly broken. Maybe this is just a part of who I am.
I love that.
Rejection sensitive dysphoria.
I think that's why those are our most popular TikTok videos too.
It could be.
It helps people feel seen.
Yeah.
Hey, me too.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
So rejection sensitive dysphoria isn't just being hurt by criticism. It's an intense emotional reaction to rejection or the fear of it. And I put emphasis on the fear of it because that is one of my biggest fears. Fear of rejection, fear of being left out. And I will put up a wall to protect myself from that, which is not a good plan. Even small slights can trigger overwhelming feelings of shame or hurt, leading to emotional shutdown or outbursts. I'm not really outbursty, but it's not just sensitivity. It's a neurological response. I have been told, I feel like my entire life, or maybe I've self-told myself, I'm just overly sensitive. Maybe I'm not actually just overly sensitive. Maybe it's a neurological response. Hypersensitivity. Emotions aren't just felt, they're amplified. Remember when I said sometimes physically sick? Physically sick. Mm-hmm. And this also goes to not just the emotional, but also everyday stimuli like noise, bright lights, or even social cues can feel overwhelming.
People chewing drives me insane. I can't handle it. Like right now with my cold, I feel like I'm underwater. And it's kind of a blessing.
Yeah. My husband, bless his heart, we don't sit at the dinner table and eat because I can't handle the sound of chewing. So we always sit together and watch a show that we want to watch together because I need that.
Yeah, I always have to have music playing. So when we sit down to eat, I'm like, I'm going to go ahead and turn on the radio because that's what's going to happen. Or any sort of repetitive noise, like reaching into a chip bag and then reaching into a chip bag and then reaching into a chip bag and then reaching into a chip bag.
Even if I'm the one reaching into the chip bag, I want to put my damn arm off.
It has to go in a bowl. I'm like, put it in a fucking bowl.
Yeah, I can't. So hypersensitivity, hypersocial awareness, and worries of upsetting people.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe I'm not broken.
You're not broken.
Sometimes I'm broken. I love this. It's not paranoia. It's your brain's way of navigating complex social cues that others might not even notice.
Yes. Hyper aware of, oh my gosh, like when I'm in a group of people, I can feel if somebody is like not wanting to be there, and I totally absorb that.
Yes. That's why oftentimes I joke, but I'm dead serious when I say if we have like meetings at work that are going to get uncomfortable, that I'm going to have to poop and I'm going to leave.
I just sit there and absorb it, and I'm just like, and it's so hard for me to throw it off myself. Like
it soaks in.
It takes to hold it.
Yeah. And longer. ADHD burnout.
Yes.
Burnout happens when the constant mental effort of managing distractions, emotions, and tasks takes its toll. Jerry keeps telling me about.
Jerry is our therapist.
Yeah, he talks about self-care. But this is exactly what he's talking about. It's that emotional burnout. And that's what more than anything, it's emotional burnout for me.
Mm-hmm.
It's an emotional burnout. Hygiene struggles. I'm not a stinky Steve when I don't like to be stank, but I will say this. There are times where I'm like, I'm not washing my face before I go to bed. I'm tired.
Yeah.
I can't. I'm just not doing it. I think that that's a hygiene issue.
And I'm so good at those sorts of things, like putting lotion on after I get out of the shower when I'm at a hotel. And everything is like nice and clean, and I don't have to worry about anything else. Like I'm not in charge of anything else.
Yes, there's nothing else.
Like my hygiene routine, I guess, is amazing.
Oh, yeah.
So I'm like, I can do all the things.
I can do all because there's nothing else. It's a very interesting thing. And in the beginning of the day, usually I'm pretty good. It's really the end of the day. And I think it's that burnout. It's everything from the
I can't do one more thing. Do not ask me one more thing. And there's been times where I've come in the front door. Okay. There have been times when I had a very, 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 very taxing job that I would go and pick up my daughter at daycare, and she would be in the car seat in the back. And I wouldn't even come in the house because I couldn't handle the dogs greeting me. I couldn't handle the dishes needing to be taken out of the dishwasher and put away. Like I couldn't handle any of that. And I would just sit in my car and like just recline for like 10 minutes and just, this is all I can do. I cannot do one more thing right now.
Yeah.
Like I'm so maxed out that if somebody asks me something, I'm not going to like the person that I am.
Yeah. My husband has gotten really, really good about understanding that sometimes when I get home from a day at work, and especially as it gets towards the end of the week, just to give me some time. Don't say hello, give me a kiss, ask me how my day was. But when I'm not super communicative about all of that, it's not something that's alarming. It's like, okay, I can see that you need that decompression. Your every fiber of your being is on fire from the day. And I just need to relax. It has gotten better, I will say. When we moved out of town, now I have about a 20-minute drive home. That's the only lengthy drive I appreciate. I do not appreciate it in the morning at all. There's no part of it that I like because I'm always running maybe just a touch behind. But in the evening, it is wonderful. It gives me that time to kind of decompress those hats, take off the work hat, get ready to put on the home hat and what that looks like. But even with that 20-minute drive, there are some days where I pull in and I'm like, yep, not ready to talk. I can't, and I can't get this coming at me either.
And sometimes it's like the whole evening. I'm like,
yeah,
today's not the day. Today's not the day for us.
Yeah. Today I just need your presence, but I need just a quiet presence. I need to know you're there. Presence.
I'm serious.
There is nothing wrong with that. Sometimes alone time, people need to understand this. As women, as speaking as moms,
pull up to my house and my husband's truck is not there.
Boom. Winning the day. The day has been won. The day has been won.
Zero expectations when I walk in the door.
Yes. The gift of being home alone. Even if my husband is out in his shop, I'm like, nope, you're still here. Turns out you're still in this little place. Can't you go somewhere else? I mean, from deployments and now it's always anyway. That is nothing about ADHD. I love my husband. I'm so glad he's home. Melissa loves her husband. She's so glad he's home.
However,
Mel loves her husband. She's so glad he's home. However, alone time,
house to myself,
recharging, and how important it is now as we are aging and the ADHD symptoms are so much bigger than what they were before.
Whenever I recharge.
Yeah.
No questions asked.
Sometimes I just literally sit in the chair and look out the wall. Like,
lick at the wall or look at the wall?
Look at the wall.
Okay.
I mean,
I'm seriously underwater. I thought you said lick at the wall.
I maybe said look a little funky.
What else did the...
Oh yeah. Let me bring that back up. Okay. Okay. So the last thing on this slide that I was looking at that I was like, wow, yes. Hyper-focus, right? Hyper-focus is when you become so deeply immersed in a task that time and everything else disappear. It's a powerful state of concentration where you're in the zone, but it can make it hard to switch gears. Even switching from my work to my home, that gear is a hard gear to switch. Monday through Friday, I'm in work mode. That's my mode.
Yeah.
And it sucks because I love home mode.
Okay, and can I also just say, Rea and I were talking about this earlier, the hyper focus, and I have not read anything about this, or maybe I have, but I'm not remembering it right now. Weird. But like this super attachment to fictional characters.
Yes, absolutely. Like the storyline behind them, you get very committed and emotionally drawn. Not to a very hyper-focused level, dare I say.
So I read a lot of books. I read a lot of books and I read them quickly and I love series because I don't like being introduced to new characters because I get so attached to these characters that I'm like, I don't want to know any fucking new characters.
Right? So here, you have to tell everybody, our fours of watchers, how many books have you read so far this year? January until April 25th.
So far this year, I have read 24 books.
How incredible is that? It's incredible.
My goal this year is 75. And I read a lot of series because it's hard for me to start a new book. Like, I'm like, I'm going to just get to know new people.
That's hard because you don't know what they're going to bring to the table.
Not like that.
But also sometimes maybe that's why I get so hyper focused and I have to Google what's going to happen to that person because I can't handle the suspense. Nobody needs it. And I still enjoy the book is the thing. Even when I know, I still really enjoy it. So hyper focus, that's another thing, whether it's in a task you're doing, any fictional adventure.
And that's the like oxymoronic nature of it as well. Like this hyper focus, but super easy to distract.
Yes, that's
unless you're hyper focused. And like the extremes of ADHD. And again, ADHD is not like, oh, you have ADHD, these all fit you.
Yes.
It certainly is very much like a spectrum, like anything else. Like it's not black and white. And we're not saying that it is, and I don't think anybody is saying that it is. But definitely there are markers in behaviors and symptoms that alert you to you're not broken.
You're not broken. You're not a failure. You don't suck at life. Mm-hmm. You're not an emotional dumpster fire. All of that. It's just some things that how you're made. And
this is how you're made.
Yeah. And then navigating it.
Exactly.
So speaking of navigating.
Treatments. So there's medications. I've never been medicated for ADHD. Although I've read a lot about women in particular being medicated around our age because of the perimenopause, because it is so difficult to keep up. And so that's like, it's not like I'm like, oh my gosh, I'll never be medicated. My daughter is medicated for ADHD.
Yeah.
Some natural things that you can do. This is going to shock and awe everybody. It turns out sleep, exercise, and diet. And those are the things that are affected with ADHD too. So that's a fine fuck you.
Yeah, right. In your dick hole.
Yes. So getting sleep
is hard.
It's hard for people with ADHD because it's hard for them to shut their mind off. But if you can get into a regular sleep cycle, which we talked about in our last podcast, and things that we're actively trying to help with that, because it does help with a lot of aspects of your life, even if you don't have ADHD. Exercise releases these endorphins, and it releases the dopamine. Like it does all of these wonderful things. It's great for your brain. And then diet, protein, and fucking vegetables. So high sugar, no bueno. And then of course all of the additives,
like preservatives.
I've seen a link with like the dyes.
Yes.
Yeah.
I've even one of my kids, I think, probably has a touch of ADHD. Probably both of them. Anyways, just a little MSG. Lord have mercy. That child has MSG, cannot be in her own skin. Yeah. She is off the walls, cannot sit still to say. She'll be exhausted. I remember when she was little, she was crying because she was so tired, but she could not physically sit still. And I've heard that with MSG, though, that can happen. But I wonder with, probably ADHD, if that's a little heightened.
So it's definitely more research is being done. And even though we are remaining apolitical, certainly the research for women with ADHD is not going to be happening in the next couple of years, which sucks because women are so different than men in a lot of ways. However, there are resources of things that have been looked at that could possibly help. I highly recommend the site Attitude. It's ADDITUDE.com. It has so many great articles and so many great, here are things that you should eat. Here are things that you should avoid, especially if you have ADHD. So there are things available if you're not interested in medication. But know that medication is an option and that you're not broken and that
it's a tool.
Yeah, you're perfectly imperfect, and think about where you are and what you need and work with your healthcare provider.
Yeah.
So here's a toast to being messy and organized, totally unorganized, and slightly drunk. And showing up anyway.
I like it.
For ourselves and for each other.
Yes. Dilly dilly.
Dilly dilly.
Love you.